Hello everyone, it's Kim Beegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Mill, and I'm coming to you from a cold morning here in Harrisburg, Oregon on the farm. And I'm going to answer the age-old question, does wool in a bucket freeze? Because I have a bunch of wool cold soaking and now it's frozen soaking, so let's go take a peek. If you're new, I talk a lot about wool, owning a wool mill, a fiber farm, and all of those things, knitting, spinning. And if you're coming back, welcome. Let's go look at some wool in a frozen bucket. All right, so here is our frozen bucket. I put this in a couple days ago. It was very dirty. So here is our bucket. I can see ice on the top. Yeah, that's pretty solid frozen with some wool in there. So that's gonna be really well cold soaked, I'm hoping, but you can see the dirt coming off. And we're gonna see how this turns out. The wool itself, not quite frozen. Just the top of it froze. But I think we'll maybe bring this in tonight so that it will thaw, and then I can get it out and we'll take it to the mill and see how it washes up. But you can see that dirt from the cold soak there. So, okay, we'll see you at the mill. All right, we are here at the mill, and this is not my finest hour of milling. It's very dry in the mill, a little bit better than yesterday, but I started this batch and I spun a little bit of it and it still spins up really beautiful. This is some merino cross, and I put a little bit of angora on it, and there's also a little bit of noil, dyed up silk noil. And the reason I did that is because it's pilling pretty badly, so I thought I would lean into the texture that is going to be in this fiber. And let's go to the other end, and I have two things to say down here. Oops, sorry. So first thing is, you can see it coming out and let me close up, and you'll see that it is much more pilly than I usually like. I think you can see it's just not carding well. A lot of that probably is the conditions, so I'm going to stop after this batch and try again on a better day for this fiber. But it spins up really, really beautifully, so I thought I'm just going to do a little bit of it, and it'll have some extra texture, and it will be really pretty and really nice to spin still, surprisingly. The other thing I wanted to notice, I'm going to stop the machine, wanted you to notice, is I can't remember off the top of my head, but somebody mentioned putting, like, could we put, I can't remember what their idea was, but the idea was to pull the roving away from the machine so that it wouldn't get caught up in the rollers on days where that tends to happen. And yes, I have seen other mills that have attached, or at least one other mill attached something to the end here and had a little bar so that the roving could sit over that bar and not be so close to the rollers and getting pulled back in. This is from like 2 episodes ago where I showed you what can happen either from static, or if I'm just not paying attention, the fiber can back up and get pulled backwards in, and it makes a giant mess. So I wandered around the mill because I know it's a little drier, and I found this is like an old what would have hung suits, right? The suit jacket would have been here, the pants would have been here. Guys back in the day would have got home from work and hung their suit on it, or maybe in their office, whatever. But I thought, I think this might work. So my bin fits perfectly in the space. And this is just enough, and you can see it's not, but it's just enough that it pulls the roving away and keeps it from getting pulled back into those rollers. So genius. And I will have to look so I can put in the in this clip who brought it up. But thank you for making me think about it again. We thought about it years ago, and then you brought it to my attention again. And look at, like, this is, now we may do something fancier when Mitch has time, but for now it is doing the job perfectly. So I'm thrilled. So thank you. And also, just to let you know that I do read the comments and I do listen to them, and I take them into account. So thank you so much. Okay. We're going to move onward. That's probably all we're going to do today here. I'm going to spritz up some Corriedale that I've got, condition it, and then I think tomorrow conditions will be better and I can get back to milling as usual. And I'll do a batch of this again when the conditions are better. I'll let you go in and you can kind of see the little pops of color in there. And we'll see if it's any different. I think this fiber also was it was just going to pill a bit. Okay, onward. Hello everybody. We're at the carder. So after the last episode, I of course got incredibly sick and was down. I had to cancel mill day and everything. It was rough for a couple days there. And now I'm back and it's raining, it's humid, and we can card some stuff up beautifully. So one thing I did before I got sick was I did a big old cleaning of the carder because it had been, as it turns out, too long. The amount of wool, it took me forever because it was just built up too high in the machine, and it took me quite a long time to get it all out. So that was a good reminder to myself that it was still functioning well, but it just made cleaning that much harder, and I was trying to get back to white, and whew, it was a thing. So anyway, we're back to white. We're here at the mill. I'm gonna start this running. I'm gonna turn it on first. I'm a little tired today, so bear with me as I get my bearings back to being at the mill. And I'm gonna grab a little more fiber from behind you where you can't see. I'll turn you. You can actually watch while I do this. This is just my very not fancy area where I weigh things out before they go onto the carder. So this is, and now we turn back. So I am weighing out the fiber for each feed so that when it comes off the carder, it is nice and even and beautiful for everybody to spin, because the more consistent your roving is, or your prep, sorry you all, this is not cooperating. The more consistent all of this is, the easier spinning it is. So now I'm gonna turn it on and we'll let that first bit run. And this is the first time I've run the carder in over 2 weeks, I think, because between the trip and then getting sick, actually, no, I'm sorry, I did run it. There'll be video of it. It wasn't my happiest run, but I did run it. And that fiber from the last batch, it was such a mess in the machine that it was the cue to be done and clean the carder. So now we're back to it, and I'm just gonna line this little bit up. It takes a minute or two as the fiber starts into the machine for it to be ready for me to catch it. So we'll just load a little bit more up here. So this is 100% Corriedale that I got. Where did I get this? Oh, in California, that's right. When I went to the Lambtown Festival last year, and we picked it out in a couple episodes. Let's go down to the other end and see how we're doing. We picked this out back when it was humid a while back in prep, and here comes some fiber coming off, and I'm gonna catch that and we'll get it loaded into the roving deck. All right, so you can see I have just this tiny little bit here that I am going to get loaded up and onto the carder into roving. And while I am, I'll talk to you about, so lots of people probably have spun Corriedale because it is one of those commercially processed tops. So those beautiful dyed braids that so many of us fall in love with. It is one of those things that is quite common and I'm just feeding this into a little hook I've got on there. And then we're gonna close up and hopefully everything will run. Anyway, Corriedale is one of those fibers that you can get fairly common from, and I'm still here working, y'all. Let me pull you back a little bit. Maybe you can see a little bit better. Whoop, I went the wrong way. Corriedale is one of those fibers that you can get. Most of the time, if you're getting Corriedale top, it's not going to be, unless it's specifically noted, it's not going to be US wool. And it's been probably highly processed and traveled around the globe, which is not a bad thing, but it's just different. It's very different than processing something like this that's coming out of a small mill that has been lightly processed in comparison and is being carded and pulled off. There's so much more life left. Let's see it come out here. I'm very excited to be processing this. So here it comes off the carder. It's carding up beautifully. I think, yes. I'm like, I can't see. It's gonna be really nice to spin. So I'm gonna go ahead and when I get a little bit heavier here, we'll start up our roving bin. And that will just collect all the fiber. Anyway, this is a lot and I'll show you. You can see how much crimp and life this still has to it versus when you get a top where it's been combed, it's just been processed, it's been shipped a lot. And so this still has all the characteristics that you can see. You could see, you know, you just can't see these characteristics. And I do think that compression and all that processing and oftentimes dyeing takes away from getting to experience the truth of that wool. So anyway, this is Corriedale, and let me find a lock and I'll just remind you what it looks like. Okay, so here is a really nice lock from, and remember, you know, I'm not trying to keep stuff in lock formation, and this has been picked, so sometimes locks will make their way through. But this is a lock from this fiber. It is really gorgeous, and it has a nice halo to it. It has a beautiful crimp. It's probably, I'm gonna say maybe 4 inches long or so, so a nice length to it. It's gonna be really, really beautiful and a really good representation of Corriedale as a breed. So, okay, I'm gonna continue on with this, and actually we're gonna head over to the washer too. Okay, we are here at the washer with that fleece that right before that I opened the video with. So this fleece I meant to wash last week, and then it was frozen, and then I got sick, and all of these things happened. So it sat in that water, frozen, for many, many, many days, and then cold for many other days. So this fleece is night and day as far as cleanliness from when I put it into that bucket, which is lovely. It will make for a good clean. Now, if this had been the summertime, this would be a very different ballgame because that water would have heated up so much that all the little microbes would have started working, and it would have been, I probably would have just committed to leaving it in the bucket for longer. That's the suet method of cleaning. I haven't really done that much, but it's one way of doing it. But because it was cold, you know, and you can, and it was covered, that's important too. It was outside in cold water, it was covered, so, you know, a lot of bacteria couldn't get onto it. Things weren't falling onto it. That's when you get into problems too, and you can get mold and different things. But this fleece just is really, really well rinsed out now. And it was a lot more compact, and it's loosened up with all that time sitting in water. So no harm done. And actually it will just make for a cleaner fleece. And this was a East Frisian Corriedale cross, speaking of Corriedale. And East Frisian is what I've got on the farm. I've got 3 of them anyway, the new bigger girls, if you've been watching for a while. The East Frisians are what we have got on the farm. I'm making sure I'm recording because that would be sad if I was talking and nothing was happening. So it's a combo of that. You can really see, I'll hold a chunk of this up to the camera because now that it's clean, and I did a skirting video on this. I think I already put it in, but I'm gonna have to go back now and see if I put it into an episode or if I held onto it for this episode. But let me hold this up. Okay, see how beautiful that crimp is in it? So I think it's gonna wash up really well. Like I said, it was no harm done having it sitting in that cold water. So wintertime is, I mean, it has its downfalls for cold soaking, right? Because the water's really cold. So wear insulated gloves when you do it, but you get a little more leeway out and you get some really, really cold water, which scientifically somehow, I'm sure there is research that, or that really cold water does make a difference versus having like a lukewarm or just a cold water. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting this into the washer, and then when it's done, I'll let you see how it looks all washed up, which I think is going to be pretty spectacular. I'm very excited about this fleece. All right, so my buzzer is going. One more. I'm gonna turn it off and let you all look inside here. So you can see this is our first wash. I'm just coming along to give it a good turn. I think you all can see pretty well, yeah. So I am just going to turn it in there. It already looks even more white, so I'm really excited. This fleece was a little rough, which hopefully if I have that skirting video still, or I'll track down where it is so you can go back to it, but it little rougher looking when it came in, but I had confidence in the shepherd that they were excited about this fleece. So I just give it a little turn and then we'll let it do its magic. Okay, now we're ready to move onward. All right, you all, we are sitting down. I gotta take my shoe off. I just can't. It's so hard for me to spin with shoes on. So we're gonna spin with a shoe off, just one. We don't wanna get crazy on YouTube here. So we are at an Ashford traditional, and this is like a go-to for beginners wheels. And this wheel is, I don't know where this wheel came about, but it's in great condition. And so I've got the Corriedale, and I'm just gonna spin, and I'm gonna spin long draw because it's got that nice long staple. Super easy to spin long draw. Really any staple is easy for long draw, but whoop, a little chunky there. I think I'm on the right side here. Don't forget, whenever you start spinning something, that there can be a right side and a wrong side, whether you're spinning top or roving. And even bats can sometimes spin better from one end from the other than from the other. So if you're not getting a smooth spin, if it feels like you're struggling to draft, then it may be because you're spinning from an end that's just a little bit harder to spin with. This is, of course, spinning up beautifully. Whoop, almost lost it. I did lose it, you all. That doesn't happen very often, but it's been a while. Well, I don't spin on this wheel very often, and honestly, it's been a while. I spun a tiny bit when I first got home, and then just got busy and was trying to get ready for a mill day that didn't happen and all that stuff. So, all right, and we're remembering that this Corriedale has a pretty nice long staple length. So if you're spinning short forward especially, you would need to keep your hands a nice distance apart, otherwise you're gonna get kind of fiber locked there. So if you're holding on to both ends of the staple length, you're fighting. So you can see I just have really light hands on this. I don't have to do much, which is what I goal for when I mill here, is to make it as easy for you to spin as possible. So I take the extra time in processing to make that happen, and this is no exception. Really beautiful. And I'll come in here in a minute and let you see this fiber. If I can stop myself. See, now I haven't spun for a while, and it's making me think it's time to get back up to my wheel. I need to card up some row lags, so that's been slowing me down on my current project, but okay, I'll stop, and we will go look at the wheel. And I'm spinning long draw here for everybody who's not, who's learning to spin or newer to spinning and doesn't know the difference. This is long draw, where I'm pulling back against the draft and the twist here. So the twist is coming in, and I'm not afraid of it. Short forward, again, is I would be pulling the fibers forward bits at a time. Now, because this is a long fiber, I can actually stretch pretty far there. So short forward, long draw. All right, I'm gonna stop you all. So when I stop, I just put some good twist in it, and then I let it do a little ply back sample on it, because most of the time it'll stay outside the orifice hook if you do that. So let me grab you and pull you in. Let you see this. Oh, look at, it's just that glowing white, which I love. I could spin white all day as long as it's not top, because this still has so much character to it that it's super fun to spin. White top, there's no way, but okay, you all, there it is. All right, we are out in the shop, and I've got two things I need to do out here today. We just had the farrier come and trim up June's feet, and while out here it's a rainy day, I look crazy as heck, but I thought I would do this little unboxing with you all on video. So I ordered these. Oh my goodness, they have the horrible knots. So let me pause and get knots out. Okay, I've got the first one open here, and I'm recording this again because I got it wrong. So this is a fin fleece that I am very excited about. It's absolutely stunning. I think you can see it pretty well there. The cut end you can see here. And then as I pull it up, and actually this shepherd said, it wasn't coated, and this isn't what they normally breed. I don't think they generally do Cormo and Cormo crosses. So this is kind of one of those randos that they have. And they said, oh, it wasn't coated. It's going to take a little extra work. There is some VM, but it's really, I am not put off by that. So that's probably heavy VM right there, what they would consider, but it's really not bad. As I dig through here, I don't see a lot of VM. So I am very excited about this. There's one fin fleece. It's 3 pounds. It's about 6-inch staple length is what they put. Let's pull. This is some of the short part too. So it's definitely long staple. Yeah, probably 5 to 6 inches for most of it. So I'm excited about this fleece, and I think it's like a very, very light gray by looking at it. The handle is great. This farm even tells you the microns. I don't know if they did for this fin fleece, but for all the rest of their fleeces, they do. So this was, I'm excited about this fleece. And let's get the other one going. And I know people will be asking about where I bought these from, and I tell my patrons, my paid patrons get all that information. So if you are interested in more information like that, heading to my Patreon and supporting me there is a great place to get that information. I've got to keep a few secrets, right? And so, but the people that are doing that extra to support what I do here on YouTube and elsewhere get more info. So hold on just a sec. I'm going to get this knot undone and we'll take a peek. Okay, so here's what this farm generally breeds, and I think you can see how gorgeous that is just off the top there. Holy cow. And they talked about, so this is a 75% Cormo, 25% Corriedale CVM. So 4-inch staple length, 22.8 microns, and then they have it's about a 5-pound fleece. I'm going to let you down just a little bit here so you can get in a little bit more on the glory of that. But ooh la la, holy cow. So let me pull a chunk of that out. That's pretty spectacular. I know the micron, I don't tend to buy lower than 21 is kind of my happy place and up, just knowing my equipment and what's gonna process well. But I'll show you what I like about this fleece. I mean, there's a lot to like about it, but when I pull apart the tips, and there's a little bit of dirt on the tips, I don't care, that's fine. There's a little bit, but when I pull that apart, it really separates beautifully. It's not getting caught up on each other. You're not seeing any nepping, and that's what I wanna see for my mill. Does not like any sort of caughting on those tips. So I am really excited. I'm not going to pull it all the way out right now. I have a feeling, and she has this wrapped up. There's paper actually in between there, which is nice. Kind of helps pull any extra moisture out and keep it nice and clean. But I am very excited about this fleece, and it will make its way into the wash soon because we're working on white. So this fleece will head to the mill soon. Okay, we have one more thing to do over here, and that is to look for a fleece to wash next. Okay, so now we are looking for a a border Leicester fleece. I'm gonna come in front of you in all my crazy outfits here. And what I'm trying to, so we're in the wool barn in my stash here of some stuff that's been here for a while, and I know I've got some border Leicester fleeces, so, and I'm looking for white because we are doing white. So let me pull up here, and I'm just gonna pull one out and see what I think. Let me pull you back a little bit. Let's actually just go over into the light here, and we'll take a peek and see what we think of this first fleece that I'm gonna open up. So I got these fleeces quite a while ago, but you can see how I have them quite sealed. And so they're in a dry place. They're not getting hit by the sun. This is from a a breeder that has since moved, unfortunately, but they have beautiful border luster. So here's a fleece. Ooh, that is pretty gorgeous. That is some long stuff. Look, another 6-inch fleece. I wouldn't mind it being, is this all one? Oh my goodness, it might all be one fleece. So let's pop, yes, look at that. That is an enormous fleece. So, it looks good. And actually this farm, my dog is helping here. And that's a little bit shorter, so I might have just hit on probably the longest part. But this fleece, I have not had to cold soak anything. They are out in really far out eastern Oregon, not as much rain. Yeah, look at that. Really nice. So I'll probably go ahead and use this one. And what I'm going to do is wash it up and blend it with mohair to make some more Prineville. And that was easy enough, wasn't it? I mean, I'm getting low on their wool though, which makes me sad. So what I'll do is I'll head over, I'll skirt this after I go eat something, and it'll go to the mill to be washed and it'll be ready for the washer. I'm not going to cold soak this. There's no muddy tips, no point to doing that. So, all right, thanks you all. That was the work that we had to do in here for today. So we'll get moving on. All right, you all, I think that is all I've got for this week. Not as much in the mill work, but it was just getting back to work and going through fleeces, deciding where to move forward. And as you noticed, getting ready to process a lot of natural white fiber because I want to pump it through the mill while the carder is clean. So I don't think it's boring. Hopefully you won't think it's boring in the next episode or two, but we'll get more stuff through the mill next week. And until next time, be kind to your neighbor. I know this is a difficult time for a lot of us, not just in the US, but around the world. And so be kind as much as you can and stay healthy, because I can tell you it's not fun when you don't stay healthy. And also make so many pretty things. It's great for your mental health. It's great for your brain. And we also get gorgeous things out of it. So everybody take care until I see you next week. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and head to the Ewethful Patreon community if you want to become a part of that community and support what I do here. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week.